Hi, I'm Brian Zelmer, Director of KU Presents at Kutztown University. During the 2018-2019 season, KU Presents is celebrating its 30th anniversary of bringing professional touring artists to the community. In this mini-series, we'll take a journey in time to explore the many behind-the-scenes stories of our first 30 years. In this episode, we'll dive deeper into the renovation of Schaeffer, hear what the patrons' reactions were to the building, and we'll meet KU Presents' third director, Robin Zaremski, as the series returns to the venue for its 25th anniversary.
Schaeffer Auditorium was built in 1938, and it wasn't built in a style that you would have expected for 1938. It was somewhat of a revival of Georgian and classical forms of architecture. This means, of course, that the interior is embellished. You're going to find a lot of ornamentation, and in some ways, some of this ornamentation is also an echo of the region, because during the time that Kutztown was really being founded and really starting to flourish in the early 19th century, you would find a lot of Georgian and federal elements that would have been the classical form of architecture for this area. It also has echoes of the Roman world as well. You're going to see columns and all sorts of decorative elements. There's an oculus in the center as well that looks like older Roman styles, and so during the Georgian period you would have seen a lot of revitalization of these types of classical elements. And the interesting thing to me is that with the naming of this building after Dr. Schaeffer, he was also a proponent of ancient languages and ancient history. So to me, there seems to be a parallel between him as a figure, naming the building after him, and the style of architecture that was chosen. Schaeffer would have been built under the supervision of the president at that point in time, who would have been Rohrbach. At one point in time, believe it or not, the Georgian room was the chapel, and the chapel actually had to be rebuilt because it was condemned. So there were a number of things that needed to be done. There had been an auditorium prior to that time in South Campus that only held about 500 people, was very, very cold and not properly heated. Schaeffer really, in many respects, opened up the possibility for a regional performance space, because there was no other large space like it anywhere in the region except for in Allentown and in Reading. So this would have been located directly between, and naturally would have become a space not only for student performances, but for performances that would have been open to the community.
I had known ever since my arrival at Kutztown University that the Schaeffer Auditorium was a special place. We had world-class groups perform here that would say to me after it's over, "This is such a wonderful space to perform." But then they'd look around and realize that it was showing its age. So it was wonderful that a first-class renovation could take place. One of the great opportunities as serving as chair of the Department of Music is music executives are members of NASM, the National Association of Schools of Music. We have annual meetings where we discuss common challenges and goals, and I had some great mentors at that conference that urged me to get involved as I could in the planning, development, and fundraising for the renovation for Schaeffer Auditorium.
Having some extensive experience with capital renovations, expansions, improvements, I was asked to serve as the co-chair for the committee of faculty and staff to see the hall's renovation from start to finish, as well as also serving as a spokesperson for fundraisers to talk about the building and how it was going to be used, and sort of all the details that they were going through from start to finish. So along with Will Rapp, I was involved in pretty much almost every conversation from start to finish about how the building was going to be renovated, the materials they were going to be used, and all that stuff.
Well, I was very much involved, and I'm grateful to Andy Casano, who saw virtue in including me in the design team. So I sat with the architects, the theater consultants, all the individuals that were involved with trying to figure out what this building needed to have done to it. And I'm grateful for that, because to be honest with you, having sat through, basically a year of meetings, it's a very difficult process, and everybody's got their own ideas as to what things should be.
I think generally speaking, there was a lot of consensus around the major components of the building, and a lot of consideration and respect was given to what the music department needed, and even the different parts of the music department. as well as what the Performing Arts Series needed, in addition to hosting any number of other campus activities that were in the hall at the same time. The deficiencies for one department were a deficiency for all departments. So, knowing and being able to understand where the priorities needed to be focused was relatively easy. But I even think coming down to a lot of the detail about how things needed to be developed and what materials we were going to be using and certain changes that we needed to be made, I think by and large it was a relatively smooth process.
This was really an immense project, and when I looked at all the planning that had to come together through all the different contractors and architects and everything, it was a fabulous process. But I had the opportunity to be involved in weekly meetings to make sure everyone was getting what we would hope we would end up with at the end of the process. And at the end of the process, when it was deemed that the project would be a bit more expensive than anyone had thought, great leadership from the top said, we're going to build it exactly the way we designed it, and we'll find a way to raise the money. And we did find a way to raise the money, and now everyone is the wonderful recipient of beautiful facilities here in the Schaeffer Auditorium, as well as expanded facilities throughout the building to serve the performing arts.
It feels like we are welcoming back an old friend. A Schaeffer Auditorium has been a familiar part of our campus for more than 7 decades. And for the first time in 75 years, we are celebrating significant upgrades to the structure, including a major expansion. The $20.1 million project included classrooms, rehearsal halls, additional performing space, dressing rooms, providing a state-of-the-art facility for our outstanding music program and the KU Presents series.
Schaeffer was built in 1938, and it has served its purposes for many musical events, lectures, and also meetings and seminars which were held here. When they added the addition to Schaeffer Auditorium, which served the purpose of adding a lot of music classrooms, rehearsal halls, and lecture halls for the music department, they added the R.G. Wells Music Rehearsal Hall. This is a beautiful hall because it can accommodate about 200 people. Also, it was acoustically well done. It has an acoustical floor, acoustical walls, and also fiberglass ceilings, which absorbs a lot of the sound. We can have a group performing and rehearsing in the rehearsal hall with a concert taking place on stage in Schaeffer Auditorium. This is really a state-of-the-art musical facility.
One of the exciting things for us as a music department was the opportunity to have a large rehearsal hall built in close proximity with the auditorium stage. So that involved some careful acoustical engineering so that sound would not bleed back and forth. And since it was on essentially the second floor, those spaces below could not have sound transfer as well. I'd learned about the floating floor, the concept of pouring a concrete slab, polymer blocks with insulation, a 3/4 inch plywood floor over top of that, and another concrete pad to create a floating floor, a completely isolated space.
It will be a great facility for the people of the university, especially the students that are here, as well as for the people of the community.
When I first started at Kutztown University, Schaeffer Auditorium was undergoing renovations, so we were operating out of the Ursa Minor Cafe. And at that point, it was my responsibilities to begin booking the first season at the new renovated Schaeffer Auditorium. We now had gorgeous new dressing rooms, gorgeous new green room, beautifully comfortable seating. We wanted to take it up a notch, bring in unique artists, and make people come back to the venue. So in the first year, we ended up opening our season with Momix Botanica. We had the Time Jumpers and Vince Gill. We had Signature Broadway that brought Broadway stars and Eric Schaeffer. We also ended up having Preservation Hall Jazz Band, artists that we knew were going to be loved by the audience and be fantastic for Kutztown University.
When Schaeffer reopened, we wanted to really showcase the building. And that season we had some really great shows to do that with food. So we had a station in each of the new parts of the building that coordinated with each of the shows.
Well, as far as the reopening is concerned, I guess if you look at my hair now and you looked at it preceding that, I had totally black hair. It was daunting. So coming into the first show, we had things like the freight elevator wasn't commissioned yet, and I had a tractor trailer coming in with Momix, but we ultimately prevailed.
The first show back in Schaeffer was a bit of a whirlwind because we were just coming into a building that we hadn't even really been in for a full month.
Well, when Schaeffer reopened, it was just great because we finally had comfortable seats, for one thing, and the space was so much better. It was airier. I think you could see better. And the audience, I think you could feel that in the audience. I think when an audience is comfortable, they're much more receptive to the performance, no matter what the performance is.
As an audiologist, the first thing that I usually detect is how is the sound. The sound in here is so much improved. Not that it was bad before, but acoustically there's something that makes it clearer and sharper for me. And I don't know if it's the carpeting, the new upholstery, the cleaner drapes. It's just so much better.
Well, having been a student here, I was impressed. I mean, I thought it really was worth the time that it took. And overall, the acoustics seemed even better.
I like the classrooms and the little theater. I think it's great for the students, and it was a big improvement, big improvement.
Oh, the ladies' bathroom went from 4 stalls to about 10, which helps tremendously show night. We used to have lines out the door, and then we'd be sending people to other buildings to use the ladies' rooms. Now we don't usually have that problem.
The ladies' room is like a major achievement.
It's outstanding from any other place you go, and women are in line forever. So yeah, that was really a plus.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, the ladies' room, yes, is wonderful.
The biggest change was the ladies' restroom, which I had asked them to name a stall after me, but they have not.
One of the great features about the newly redesigned Schaeffer Auditorium are the facilities that are available to guest performers. There are star dressing rooms with immediate access to the stage. 1 floor below, there are full dressing facilities that can handle even the largest of dance troupes, with areas to relax and just give the artists space away from the public to be able to prepare for their performances.
The renovations at Schaeffer Auditorium have improved the artist's experience as well. When they come here and they see a beautiful green room, gorgeous dressing rooms with showers and mirrors, they know that KU Presents wants to take care of them. And by taking care of the artist, you're going to be having them give the best performance that they possibly can give.
As far as sound and instrumentation, things like that, we try to be as accommodating as we can within budget constraints, simply because if an artist needs a particular amplifier, for example, or a particular type of drums, then it's usually because that's what they're accustomed to playing with, and you really don't want to throw them a curve by asking them to play on something different. You want to try to draw out the best performance.
During the time that I had started with Kutztown, there was, of course, a drop in enrollment at many of the state universities, and with the drop in enrollment came also a tightening of budgets. So one of the hurdles was we had to make sure that the artists that we were booking were going to be able to generate enough ticket income in order to cover costs and expenses. We became a little bit more sensitive to the economics and making sure that we were presenting artists that not only met our mission for cultural arts, but also were able to bring in a good audience. We had a children's series where we presented great children's shows such as Pinkalicious, Missoula's Hansel and Gretel, as well as the Verb Pipes children's show. But in order to keep the shows, the children's series, affordable for families, of course you like to keep the prices at a lower level. And with the schools pulling back on supporting the arts, not providing for bus transportation, we saw that our outreach programs, the things that we were doing for our youth, were unfortunately not able to be supported. And with the tightening of the budget, we were able actually to refocus some of that funding to our Performing Artists series so that we could bring in bigger artists, such as Audra McDonald, Trombone Shorty, Branford Marsalis, and Kurt Elling. One of my favorite Broadway performers, Ramin Karimloo.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye. And it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day.
Artists such as those were able to elevate the profile of the Performing Artists series at Kutztown and bring in more notoriety. Looking back on my time with KU Presents, I hope that my legacy is that we have raised the bar with performers that can come here, that all we have to do is ask and tell them why it is a great place to perform and a great place to play with an awesome audience, and that they will want to come. And for the students hoping to make an impact on their lives and their educational experience here at Kutztown University, the arts have a way of opening your mind and opening your world to places and spaces that you never thought you would experience. And hopefully, again, during their time here at Kutztown University, we have been a major part of that.
We just saw how the newly renovated venue helped the series evolve. Next time, we'll talk with many of our seasoned subscribers. We'll learn about their favorite performances and most memorable experiences at KU Presents. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brian Zelmer, and we've been celebrating 30 years of KU Presents.
Welcome to the 30th anniversary season of KU Presents. On November 9th, 4 principal musicians from the New York Philharmonic will perform works from classical string quartet repertoire under the name New York Philharmonic String Quartet.
Swinging little party with all of our friends. We're hoping you dig the invitation, make a plan to attend. We're gonna be singing jingle bells until the holidays end. A swinging little Christmas time. We're gonna be wrapping up your present.
Ring in the holidays with a heartfelt and fun performance on December 5th with Jane Lynch, A Swingin' Little Christmas. This show features both poignant and hilarious takes on classic holiday tunes, as well as nostalgia-inspired originals. Jane Lynch is best known for her role of Sue Sylvester on Glee, and she's joined by Kate Flannery, known for her 9 seasons as Meredith on The Office, and Glee's vocal arranger, Tim Davis.
The joint will be rocking with the rhythm of some holiday tunes. But baby, it wouldn't be a party if it didn't have you. a swinging little Christmas time.
Just in time for Valentine's Day is A.R. Gurney's famous Broadway play, Love Letters, on February 13th. This production is reinvigorated as two iconic television stars, I Dream of Jeannie's Barbara Eden and Barney Miller's Hal Linden, pull the heartstrings of spellbound audiences across America.
You know, do you know a play called Love Letters?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
with Larry.
love doing that.
You did it with Larry, didn't you?
I did it with Larry. I am doing it now with Hal Linden, and you asked me what I was doing. I'm going to do it next year with Hal. But that absolutely, for pure joy for me as an actress, is that part. I love it. What better to take from a little child to an old lady? I mean, what an arc. I love it, love it, love it.
Join us March 21st when guitar virtuoso Benesse features Fuego, the Latin river dance. Fuego features the passion and grace of flamenco dancing combined with fiery Spanish guitar. A beautifully charming and romantic Spanish village is the backdrop for Benesse and his stage full of musicians and dancers. Rounding our season out on April 16th is one of the most dynamic live performers of our time, Arturo Sandoval. The protege of the legendary jazz master Dizzy Gillespie, Arturo Sandoval is known for his virtuosic technical ability on the trumpet, but he also plays the piano and sings. Don't miss one of the most brilliant, multifaceted, and renowned musicians of our time, Arturo Sandoval. Tickets are now available by calling 610-683-4092 or by visiting kutztownpresents.org. Thank you to Berks Community Television and all of the KU Presents season sponsors. See you at Schaeffer.